Well, we're all facing yet another fuel hike this month. You would have seen at the petrol pumps yesterday, long queues as people wanted to fill up their tanks. And so what impact will this have on you and I's pockets, especially when we talk about budgeting? So let's try and factor this in our budgets. But wait, there's more, because the 1st of April, Moeshfieka Botha, she's a consumer expert, we are going to also be getting that dreaded electricity tariff hike. Hello to you.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's start with that, right? So it's not only the petrol price increase, but on the 1st of April, the tariff hike for electricity comes into effect. How much more can we take?
Well, to be quite honest, I really don't know how much more the South African consumer can take. Besides the petrol price increase, which if you're looking at just on an ordinary everyday basis for somebody with a 50-litre tank of petrol, over a month you're looking at an increase of 250 Rand to do. You're looking at then 500 Rand for a two-car household. So, but that doesn't stand alone in a silo. We have had increase in repo rates and therefore increase in bond repayments by thousands of rands per month. We are now on the 1st of April going to have an 18.65% tariff increase from Eskom. So the increases that we are having in our expenditure is in no way being compensated by salaries and income. And that is very concerning. But I must also say that we have the conversation, and even myself, I've been doing quite a few interviews on how it affects the person that's working and has to get to work and affects income, affects expenditure. But we have to realize that this is affecting the masses. South Africa remains the most unequal country in the world. We have 3,500 people owning more than the 32 million poorest people combined. And it is those masses that we need to remember. It is those masses that are being impacted. So with it's estimated that 20 million South Africans go hungry every night. How is it going to further affect those masses? Because a petrol pump increase does not only affect the people who have vehicles, it affects everything from farm to fork. Everything that we consume is affected when there's a retail increase, a petrol price increase.
Now, you speak of the masses. Is it sustainable that this country that is labeled the most unequal in the world continues on this trajectory? You need only think of recent history where people took to the streets, and whatever you thought of it, some people genuinely needed something to eat for that night. And so can we afford to go on this trajectory that we're going on?
It's not sustainable. We cannot. And if you look at, there's a shocking statistic that says that 13.8 million people in South Africa are living below the food poverty line of 663 Rand per month. And most and millions of people are dependent on social grants with increases in necessities. And we are now not speaking about people who have disposable income that can be cutting down. The people that can be cutting down by now know that they should be cutting down. People need to know by now that, things are not looking good. Look what your wants are, look what your needs are, cut down. Get your debt under control. Speak to your creditors, speak to a debt counselor. Try and get out of debt. Save money when you can. But it's the people who have already cut down to the bone. It's the people who cannot go any further. What are those people supposed to do? I mean, it stands to reason that corporate South Africa and civil society are going to have to when be able to contribute to the various NGOs, to the various feeding schemes. Also, we're going to have to start repurposing and redistributing good food that goes to waste. But is that a plan? Is that a plan for a country? I would say no. Something needs to be done to stop this, because South Africans just cannot survive it. The masses cannot survive this.
I think I mentioned budgeting and factoring in all these costs, not only the petrol price increase, but as you rightfully mentioned, the tariff hike that Eskom will introduce come the 1st of April. What do you do if you're working on a shoestring budget, right? And already you've shaved off what you needed to shave off.
I think when it comes down to shaving off, I think, like you've said, we've shaved off all that we can. We literally now have to look in terms of saving in the manner in which we do things. We are going to become a country that is going to start valuing vouchers more, our reward systems more, our e-bucks more, our points that clicks more. We are going to become a country that has to look at how we save in the manner in which we do things. You know, in the hours that you do have electricity, switch off the geyser even more. Look at your fuel consumption. Work out your transport costs. Again, spatial apartheid means that we still have the poorest of the poor living the furthest from their working. We are going to have to start making adjustments and saving in the manner in which we live. You know, decline offers to dine out. Tell your friends and family, we're cutting down. We simply cannot afford to go out for takeaways anymore, to go and eat out. If you cannot afford to go to the movies anymore, as much as we want to help the economy and keep the economy going, we cannot do so at the expense of our survival. Because that's literally what it is now, survival. And as tedious as it may sound, and you've brought this up so many times, budget, write it down. Make a note of your expenses. And I would suggest that every South African starts by tracking their expenses just for 1 week. You will be surprised as to how much we spend that we don't put into the budget. Put in everything, and then from there see, if I can cut down, if I can shave off more, where do I do that? If not, how do I change the manner in which I live to save money? Because that seems to be the only recourse that we have right now.
Any tips, especially when it comes to maybe where you purchase your items, right, to save that extra buck? So, for instance, things like vegetables, we're always encouraged to eat healthy, but the cost of food is expensive. And so, you know, that auntie on the side of the road that's got like fresh vegetables, but for a decent price.
Yes, absolutely. Shop around. Look at the hawkers on the side of the road. Compare the prices. Now is not the time to be living your best life. Shop around. Also, look, you know what? I think something that's come across to me very, very harshly now is that we have to get back to basics. We actually have to start, you know, like we did, our parents did, and they used to compare the pamphlets that they got from the various shops. Do that. Go online, compare prices. Take a calculator with you. Get back to basics. When you're in the shop, literally start adding up what you're putting into that basket so that you know and you are not surprised, and you know you stay within the budget that you have allocated yourself. Because very often it's a mental thing. We walk in the aisles, we put things down. No, everything that you put in your trolley now, put it into your calculator so that you know exactly how much you are going to spend. Change brands. Change brands if you need to. If you can no longer afford to shop the brand that you've been shopping and you need to change to a different brand or even to a no-name brand, I don't think anybody has ever died, but people have died from going hungry. So I think we really are at that point now where we have to start looking at how we live, and we also have to start speaking to our children about the fact that there is an economic crisis. We do have a financial crisis. And yes, I'm all for encouraging our children and the younger generation to build a wealth mindset. But there is no harm in also being pragmatic and being realistic about the fact that the financial struggle in South Africa for the masses is very real right now. So speak to the children, drop the budget, get rid of your debt, and start changing your lifestyle.
Thank you very much to consumer debt expert Moeshfieka Botha.